Hey guys, today we're taking a little bit of a look at Yubel. So, I've been playing against Yubel for a while now, so I am probably equipped enough to tell you guys uh, the choke points somewhat. So, Samsara D Lotus is kind of a choke point, it depends. So, if we have like infinite impermanence or a effect failure, then when we are dealing with the D Lotus, the point uh, that we should imperm or effect failure, when? So if we look at the line, it'll be normal summon Samsara D Lotus, Lotus effect, to then special summon a copy of Spirit. Spirit will then grab a copy of Nightmare Pain, and then Nightmare Pain will grab the Gruesome Grave Squirmer. And the Gruesome Grave Squirmer will then allow them to essentially full combo, and then they should end on like Apollosa, Unchained Soul of Rage, plus Escape of the Unchained. So that's a few points of interaction, and also Phantom of Yubel. So if we allow Samsara D Lotus to resolve, and then we imperm the Spirit of Yubel. So let's assume this goes through. Then there is a Yubel monster here for Phantom of Yubel. So a Yubel monster plus 1p monster with 0 attack defense, so that's Samsara D Lotus, and then Spirit of Yubel. So the, this is essentially what you're potentially stopping if we are going for specifically imperm on D Lotus. If we are going for imperm on D Lotus, we're just in this case hoping our opponent does not have either a opening of the spirit gates or a Spirit of Yubel or Yubel in their hand currently, because then that would go into a Phantom of Yubel. But at the same time, what does Phantom of Yubel by itself actually accomplish? So Phantom of Yubel allows you to destroy, so you change the activated effect of your opponent's monster, and it will become destroy one Yubel monster in their hand, deck, or field, which they will get to choose. Which is weird because honestly, it's my effect. I should be choosing. That's how I feel about this, but alright, whatever. So this will probably be popping a Spirit of Yubel, and then this allows uh, this effect to happen, where you can special summon one of your Yubel that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard. And in this case, it's just this Yubel. So, yeah, realistically, this doesn't do much, except that it can't be destroyed by battle. It can still be destroyed by card effect. So, yeah, not a whole lot to be afraid of here. And that means all you have to contend with will be a Phantom of Yubel if we hold for the Spirit of Yubel, depending on certain things, I guess. There is this as well, which is a little bit threatening. If you control a Fiend monster, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, then you can destroy one Yubel or one monster that mentions it in your monster zone. So it depends how many Grave Squirmers are being run, but if we imperm the D-Lotus instead, this also will play around Grave Squirmer if our opponent has that in the hand. So at this point, Infinite Impermanence is pretty much just a complete guessing game. And you're just using your psychic powers to try to figure out if your opponent has Gruesome Grave Squirmer in hand already. Perhaps they have like one of these Yubels in hand already. Perhaps they have Opening of the Spirit Gates already. But typically, if your opponent normal summons Dark Beckoning Beast, it means that they probably will have a Lotus in hand. So it kind of depends exactly, but you know. If our opponent does Opening of the Spirit Gates with Dark Beckoning Beast, that is still going to end up on some form of combo, so that is also a little bit annoying. But yeah. If we see normal summon Samsara D Lotus, the only thing that is likely true is that our opponent does not have a Dark Beckoning Beast in hand. That's about all we can confirm with normal summon Samsara D Lotus. If we see normal summon on Dark Beckoning Beast, it doesn't mean they don't have D Lotus. It doesn't mean they don't have Opening of the Spirit Gates. They can also have Chaos Summoning Beast, and just having any one of these guys allows you to just do some things in general. kind of like depends, but whatever. And then if our opponent has a let's say they do have a Yubel or something, it's actually not that bad to hold Imperm if you're not 100% sure what your opponent has. So if our opponent has like the D Lotus and the opening of the Spirit Gates, then it's practically worthless for us to negate the D Lotus because they'll just resolve and grab the Spirit of Yubel. If we negate the Spirit of Yubel, this will uh, then allow our opponent to grab Nightmare Pain, and then Nightmare Pain will be grabbing the Gruesome Grave Squirmer. And this effect here to Monster Reborn is actually not a quick effect. So what we know our opponent is likely to end on is an Apollosa, so we can just, if we're not confident we can stop them before a certain point, we can just simply save our Imperm for the Apollosa, and that is not entirely that bad of an idea. It depends circumstantially on like what your hand has, what your opponent has, but there are just a lot of options, essentially, and there always is technically a correct answer. Like, there is an optimal point in every single duel, but it won't necessarily be the same, so I can't just, like, in good faith, just say, oh, Imperm the D Lotus, or Imperm the Spirit of Yubel, because all of these things are just playing around different things, I guess. If you have, like, an Imperm and Ash Blossom Joe Spring, though, then it matters, like, a little bit less, so, now it's about playing around the Gamma. If we have the Ash, we can wait all the way up until the activation of Nightmare Pain to actually Ash our opponent here to prevent them from searching the Gruesome Grave Squirmer. That's about it, I think, right? And they can't make the Phantom yet unless they have a Yubel in hand, because then they would want to pop the Yubel on field first. But if they have it in hand, then the correct answer is to like Ash the Spirit of Yubel and not Ash the Nightmare Pain. But if they already have a Nightmare Pain, this could be just baiting Ash, and then you want to Ash Nightmare Pain more because this is the search and this is searching the searcher essentially, right? So this is the more ideal point to actually Ash, but if our opponent has the ability to make Phantom, then we can't Ash it, if that makes sense. So, honestly, there's nothing really super great about this. So, if we were to Droll, that's probably a lot more consistent, and we can always stop the Nightmare Pain search this way. So, if we check all the different searches they do a lot of searches. So in an ideal world, maybe they have like full combo and they Dark Beckoning Beast to add Opening of the Spirit Gates, and then we just Droll here, and then Spirit of Yubel cannot add Nightmare Pain, and also Yama cannot add Sharvara, and also Nightmare Pain, even if they have it, can't search. Nightmare Throne can't search. This deck does a lot of searching, so maybe we should try Droll. And Nibiru, I don't think will actually work, right? We should count the summons, I suppose. So if we start with Lotus, normal summon Lotus, summon Spirit. Spirit's going to be popped by the Gruesome Grave Squirmer, summon Yubel. Then we have Yubel and Gruesome Grave Squirmer. And if you nib here, our opponent is going to just be able to pass on Phantom of Yubel. If we are going to Nibiru later, we can't because they have Phantom of Yubel. So yeah, that's the issue. If we nib too early, they will probably have Phantom of Yubel. If we nib too late, they will have Phantom of Yubel, and then the rest of their board. So it is going to do something, right? It doesn't do literally nothing, but I feel like there might be something more efficient. It's hard to say, right? So how about instead, is there a way for us to like lock our opponent out of being able to summon from the extra deck with one of the Roach cards? Maybe one of the C cards. can help us out with this. So one of them is Macrocosmos, specifically if a spell special summons a monster, but the only one that does that is Nightmare Throne. That's not that consistent. Well, not that consistently going to happen, and I believe it might specify location. I'm not 100% sure. Like, it only cares if you summon a guy from, like, the deck using a spell, so maybe Opening of the Spirit Gates doesn't work, but if it does work, that might not be bad, right? So honestly, I think Droll and Shift are your best bets to probably, if you're trying to target, like, uh, if you're trying to target Yubel with your Handtrap specifically, that's probably the play, going Droll and Shifter. And Maxi is, of course, like, not that bad, but it's not that great either. It doesn't necessarily fully get you where you want to be. Because you're risking getting Gamad if you do this in the draw phase, if you wait too long, if their hand is... Well, that depends what the hand is, but they can just essentially make Phantom of Yubel without starting a chain. So there will be a window where you're risking getting Gamad if you maxi too early, and you're risking not being able to maxi at all if you don't do it in draw phase. So that's a little bit miserable. And this means one thing probably. Just win the coin flip, I guess. Like, the going second ability on this isn't going to be that insane, so. If we have an Appaloosa and our opponent doesn't open, like, Talents here, or Dark Hole, or Imperm, I guess, so any of these, like, cards that immediately strip, like, Appaloosa of all of its negates, that'll probably be an easy win against this deck. I just don't really see this being too difficult to win against, if we are able to set up, like, our end board. And assuming we're, like, just dealing with mostly the engine here. So notably, this build is not running super poly, and the extra deck is kind of a bit weird. I don't know why this guy's running 2 Yama, but he is running 2 Yama, I guess. So, well, actually... No, yeah, this only adds Unchained monsters. The one that generically adds Fiends are all of the Link monsters here, so... Yeah, makes no sense to me, but alright. Wait. Do you even have a way to summon Loving Defender? No, wait. You can't even summon Loving Defender in this list. Why do you have Loving Defender in your extra deck with 2 Yama? Huh. Well, let's not think about this guy's build too much. Well, we don't need to worry about ratios too much either, but in general, back row removal will be your best friend, and Infinite Impermanence on Appaloosa, Change of Heart on Appaloosa, like, our main threat that we are going to be dealing with this meta, just going to be Appaloosa, so we want cards like Evenly Matched, Change of Heart, Triple Tactics Talents. All of those going second will be your best friend. And just Change of Hearts on Appaloosa is very strong, right? In this case, they actually have a little bit too much monster interaction, so that might be a little bit rough to deal with. So in this case, if our opponent has like a Phantom of Yubel plus Unchained Soul of Rage, we can't stop both of them with Appaloosa, but we will deal with the Appaloosa, and Appaloosa being dealt with in one card, and them needing to use probably Soul of Rage and Phantom of Yubel to remove, or like essentially 2 cards to remove the Appaloosa that you just yoink from them. That's pretty efficient for dealing with the board, I guess, right? So that's a pretty good option, and another idea that might be Dark Ruler no more, potentially. If we want to Dark Ruler no more, we can then simply just get rid of Yubel's negate that way. And Chainsaw of Rage can still come back when it gets popped by the trap here. So this is something we still have to deal with, but the Appaloosa as well is gone. So dealing with like 2 out of 3 of our opponent's monsters on their field is not entirely the worst thing in the world, honestly, so that's right. Droplet is probably okay, because Unchained Soul of Rage, this has to be on field to do the Link Summon. And we can also negate Phantom of Yubel and Appaloosa, but it does cost us 2 cards from our hand, so it is what it is, I guess. Yubel is just very hand trap resistant, but I don't think it's that insane like going second, so it's just a relatively efficient engine with like some hand traps layered in. And this could be done better ratio-wise. I guess this guy really wants to draw into Deep Lotus. That's probably why we're seeing the Fairy Ray map and the Nightmare Throne here. And burning these guys seems like a little bit hard. Yeah, I don't see that really being easy. There's also, if you're going first, a myriad of just floodgates we can run, like skill drain, macro, and just things like that in general that will really put a Yubel player in a tough place. So that's like one idea. I don't think we necessarily can stop our opponent from link summoning, can we? Yeah, I don't think so. But in general, if we look at this deck build, just as always, since it's Master Duel, there is no main decked backer removal, so skill drain, basically unoutable unless you have Escape of Unchained. This is the only piece of main decked backer removal, and this requires an Unchained monster, so that's basically impossible to accomplish. So you're mostly looking out for, in this case, like Nightmare Phoenix and SB Little Knight, and honestly, if we have just two Floodgates, SB can only out one of them, so probably GG if you have two. And Nightmare Phoenix, I don't really think this is going to do too much for our opponent, just in general, because by the time, like, unless they have really cracked hand and your hand is kind of like garbage, then by the time they're able to go through and summon Nightmare Phoenix and SP Lilna, you probably have like an imperm for at least one of them, and they'll probably allow your Floodgate to remain on the field for the rest of the duel, honestly. So that is just another play. So I wish there was like a better answer, but I guess just in general, Yubel is a good all-rounder kind of deck. It's not like particularly that horrendous to deal with or anything, but the way it feels like your hand traps are not that effective is pretty feels bad, man. The same way as like a super heavy samurai, but yeah. Droll will probably be your best friend in this case, and this also stops our opponent here from super easily accessing Rage plus Appaloosa, so that they probably won't be able to do more than one if you Droll, even with a good hand. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.